Hello everyone, I'm Matthew Ozanek and welcome to another installment of Destination Michigan. We're coming to you today from For Art's Sake in downtown Mount Pleasant, a space that is filled with wall-to-wall creativity. Now, if you've been following along with us over the years, you know that we have met some incredibly talented and creative individuals. Artists and makers working in a seemingly endless selection of mediums. And everyone we've met have come across their passions in a variety of ways. Some carry on family traditions, others discover newfound passions all on their own. But no matter how they made their way into their field, they stick with it year after year because of how incredibly rewarding of an experience it can be. In this episode of Destination Michigan, we're going to meet a few people who exemplify Michiganders' creativity as well as their entrepreneurial spirit. So come along with us as we head across the state to meet the makers of Michigan. We'll peruse the wide array of creations at the Merchant and Makers Market in West Michigan. Meet the duo bringing wood back to life at Detroit's Woodward Throwbacks. At American Spoon, they're taking creativity to another level with their tasty offerings. And we'll meet the maker behind one of the most unique golf courses in the world. To kick off this episode, we thought we'd first take a look back and meet some of the makers from Destination Michigan past that have inspired all of us here at the show, and hopefully you at home as well. I'll now hand things off to Stephanie Mills to take a closer look at what keeps their creative drive alive.
In Michigan, the spirit of making has been stitched into our historical fabric for generations.
My grandmother, she was asking me what I was doing for work, and I said, I'm still doing the corporate marketing stuff, but I'm working on trying to build barrels. I want to be a cooper. And she found that in 1620 is when the Smith side came over on the Mayflower, and my 10th great grandfather was the master cooper on the Mayflower. There was some coopering in the blood, and it just took 10 generations for one of us to pick up the hammer again.
From the earliest settlers crafting canoes for transportation to the loggers, as the state transformed, that entrepreneurial tenacity rose with it.
I've always been a firm believer that everything in nature should be utilized the best that it possibly can. We have a responsibility as humans to do something better for the earth with everything that we do.
With the dawn of the automobile industry, Michigan became a driving force thanks to the inventive mind of Henry Ford, helping put the world on wheels. That type of ingenuity has sparked the creation of hundreds of new businesses and industries right here in the Great Lakes state.
We love that part of it, to serve people and to share memories with families and being part of their memories. Yeah, I mean, we live here in paradise and we get to have a business in paradise, and we don't forget about that. We're very fortunate.
Over the years, we've encountered dozens of Michigan artists, crafters, small and large family business owners carving their own path of creativity.
We're passionate about skiing, and if we can share that passion, for me, that's everything. And if we can allow somebody to have more fun. If you slid downhill and you have a smile at the bottom, that's all that counts.
Whether they're hobbyists or professionals, their stories inspire, their vision often taking root and drawn from the natural landscape that surrounds us. Innovation is in Michigan's DNA. Where there's a need, Michiganders persist and find ways to build, create, and make.
In our modern world, people have gotten used to getting exposed to new talent and creativity through the internet. Online markets like Etsy have made it easier than ever for people to share their creations with a worldwide audience. While this new tech has been incredibly helpful for makers, it still just can't compete with that in-person experience. And at the Merchants and Makers Markets in West Michigan, communities are coming together to not only peruse the wide array of creations, but to also meet the people behind the magic. So here we are today in Grand Rapids at the Fulton Street Farmers Market. Now typically this market is full of produce from local farmers, but today over 100 West Michigan makers are filling these booths to sell their wares to all the folks here in attendance today. So let's go ahead and take a quick stroll through the market and meet some of the makers.
The mission of Merchants and Makers was to provide a fun experience for people to come together with their family, with their friends, and shop locally. So being able to shop all different kinds of unique things that are made, handmade, and also curated. We have merchants, that portion is that, so we have merchants and makers. So we want to have a good place that people can come, have fun, be together. So we really want it to be an event for people to gather at, with the biggest goal being to support Michigan makers.
But these Merchants and Makers events aren't just about selling products. It's also about community. Seasoned veterans with tables right alongside the newcomers, offering advice and assistance and gaining a better appreciation of everyone's creativity.
We have a great group of bakers, some who have done this for 20 years and some who this is their first market ever. We have the gamut at all of our markets. So we have a vendor group. We do a lot of email exchanges. You know, if I hear of someone new, it's like, oh, you'd really like to connect with this person who is new or who has done that type of product in the past and might have some ideas for you. But our vendor group is really awesome because people will post on there all the time, you know, old displays they have for sale, or I need advice on what types of markets I should do this year. So it's really great to be able to have that.
And after over a year with hardly any events like this, visitors to the market were anxious to make their way up and down the tables.
As you'll see when you go through the market, people like to touch things and see like, oh, it's this size, or it would fit me this way, or looks good with this outfit. So people like to see things in person, but it's really the connection with the maker. And that's a huge part of what we do in our advertising and our marketing, is make sure that people realize that every booth you see is a person's business, a person's passion, that they love it. And so being able to connect with the person behind the booth is so great.
It's huge for us, particularly a brand like ours that has a lot more to say about like where our products came from, where the materials were from, how they were made, where they were made. And so it allows us to really connect directly with customers who are interested in learning about upcycling or what about our process is different. And it's a really great time to be able to support a whole bunch of other small businesses all at once. The more that you can talk directly to people and hear about what it is that they are wanting and needing and what they like or what they're really interested in, that really helps make sure that you're connecting directly with your customers and consumers so that you can keep that really strong relationship and connection point.
The Merchants and Makers also made their way to the mouth of the Grand River in Grand Haven for a perfect day for an outdoor market. No matter how a maker gets their start, being able to communicate one-on-one and face-to-face with customers is a huge advantage. But visitors to the market aren't just looking for something to hang on their wall, they're also looking to inspire their own creativity.
A lot of our makers still have full-time jobs. So like they'll still work their full-time job and then do this kind of side hustle for fun. And I think for some people it's just the extra money. I think for some people it's the ability to, if they work in a really, normal 9-to-5 job, to do something creative and something that they love and that makes them excited. But I think that a lot of people take that step when they go to markets themselves and they see like, I could do this is fun. And the community is so huge. That's just like the biggest part. And so many people keep coming back for the community to be a part of this feeling. Like today I'm like emotional all day because it's like, look at, we're all here in person together and get to see people after a year and a half. And so it's been really great.
Gatherings like Merchants and Makers are a great way for makers to introduce their creativity to the world. But eventually, with a lot of hard work and a little bit of luck, they outgrow that table or booth and have to move on into bigger venues, expanding their operation and their reach. Case in point, the duo of Bo Shepard and Kyle Dubé of Woodward Throwbacks in Hamtramck.
Woodward Throwbacks started pretty much as a passion project. Me and Kyle met at a neighborhood cleanup. We both shared a really big passion for biking around the city, exploring different neighborhoods, because as you know, Detroit is huge. One day Kyle was like, hey, let's start selling the stuff at the market. At the time, we were just doing like small like wall signs and like things with like kind of funny neighborhood sayings. And then it just kind of snowballed into a business.
This passion project turned business has really taken off for Bo and Kyle. So much so, they were able to move their operation from a one-car garage into this beautiful space.
We're in downtown Hamtramck, which is a small 2-square-mile city within Detroit, so it's kind of wild. But when you get to our building, you enter through our showroom. So we usually have our home decor, we have our furniture, some vintage items, and then you get to the salvage warehouse. We have over 200 salvage doors, we have a couple windows, just a lot of like things that we think are interesting. And so that's kind of the opportunity for people who like what to do to kind of see, some of the materials that we have in stock.
We make so many different things, and our process is a lot of times based on the materials and not necessarily the finished piece. For example, I got these old components of these old school built-ins. And my process on that is more, what can I do with these? Because they're not in good enough shape to really, I could fix them up as is, but it makes more sense for us to re-envision what we can do with the parts and pieces. It's a lot of trial and error and a lot of experimentation, which is super fun for me and a lot of our staff. Most of our staff are artists, and they really like the freedom that we give to them to express themselves and their designs. A little bit different every time, which is the fun part about it.
Both Bo and Kyle had to make some big life changes to make Woodward Throwbacks the operation we see today. But they took that leap and they went for it, leaving behind the security of their previous careers to pursue their goal no matter what.
I wasn't made for a corporate environment, let's say. So when I was in the automotive industry, I was the third African-American female interior car designer ever in the company I was working for. So now that I'm in another male-dominant field, construction, I'm kind of used to it, but at the same time, it's just like, I don't think that there should be any gender barriers when it comes to the career that you choose. He left his full-time job in graphic design before I left my full-time job in the automotive industry. And so, I feel like he really kind of bootstrapped and put everything together.
The creative effort at Woodward Throwbacks is a collaborative one. Seeing the two work together on a new piece, we can get a glimpse into their creative process, which plays off both of their strengths.
Kyle was the exact opposite of me, where he's very structured. We create goals together, but he's the one that really spearheads us into the right direction. You're the foundation of this business. You're the rock. You're my rock.
Oh, thanks, babe. Her energy is great. She's so good with all the clients. She's got good style, and she's got awesome design capabilities, and her potentials are just haven't even been tapped into yet. We haven't gotten to the point in our business where we've been able to really utilize her skills, and now she's gonna flex her skills a little bit more, and it's great to see her do that. And her first few projects that she's doing, these design projects, they're awesome. I'm sitting back I'm just watching them unfold. I'm yo, these things are gonna be insane.
Bo and Kyle's creations come from items recovered throughout the city. These collected items provide not only the raw materials for their pieces, they also act as a source of inspiration for them and their artists. And for Bo and Kyle, to find the right items for their works, well, it's a little bit like searching for a treasure, but without the treasure map.
A lot of people do ask us, how do you get your materials? And the first thing they think is just we're going into abandoned homes and industrial buildings, but we constantly have contractors and demo crews, as well as homeowners, constantly contacting us about materials that they would rather see repurposed than tossed.
It's really fun, you're a kid in a candy store sometimes.
And we've been training our employees as well. So when we go into these buildings, they're thinking about okay, how can I take this, deconstruct it, and make it something, seeing
really cool.
The deeper opportunity in some of the materials that we're gathering. The city is
people
a treasure.
throw these things away.
Yeah, the city is some type of treasure hunt, and it's just it just needs us to find it.
With each new piece they create and ship out the door, a small piece of Detroit's history goes right along with it. What this dynamic duo has created in Hamtramck is really incredible, and it continues to grow. Now, while Bo and Kyle don't always see eye to eye, their shared passion and dedication to what they do is what keeps Woodward Throwbacks thriving.
And we definitely do sometimes say oh, this is awesome. And sometimes doing it together is kind of frustrating too, but most of the times it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we have moments where I'm just and I think you have the same with me.
Yeah. We're seeing this room and this building that we own and we've bought, we've refurbished in this team and this company that we've created, but in a lot of ways to us, I think we're so deep into it, it feels like it's been a really long time, even though it's been such a really short period of time. It's super cool for us that our pieces are all over the country. I think that it's something that Bo and I don't really get too attached to or emotional about, because we don't have the time for that moment of reflection to be wow, we have a lot of our handwork in all these places all over the country now. But I think that we're just really honored that we get to do what we love every day, and we exploring these old buildings, and we seeing all this old pieces of history that people don't get to see, and the fact that we get to go see it and then more often not get it and then hit our hands on top of it, it's just it's a dream job for most of us that work here, and that we're pretty blessed for that.
As we've seen so far in the program, creativity comes in many different forms across the Great Lakes state. But now we're going to trade in the metal and the wood for the fruits on the trees. For decades at American Spoon, the Rashid family has been crafting an incredible variety of products, bursting with both color and flavor. Stephanie Mills made a visit to their facility in Petoskey to catch a glimpse of their culinary creativity.
When we began, we started making fruit preserves in small 28-gallon copper kettles. Those small batches were kind of fundamental to the rare quality that we achieved. So today, we make jam 60 jars at a time, but because we have 7 or 8 cookers, we can produce about 5,000 jars of jam a day.
5,000 jars of sweet, delicious jam grown, harvested, and prepared here in northern Michigan. This is American Spoon, a small family business with a big collection of decadent Michigan-made products.
American Spoon was founded by my dad, Justin Rashid, and his chef partner, Larry Forgione, and they partnered in the early 80s to make what they hoped would be America's finest fruit preserves with Michigan fruit. When we began making jam, we were making jam in the basement of a local candy shop. And after that first summer, the neighboring restaurant owner, who proudly sold pies every summer, shared with my father that his pie sales had tripled that summer. So my dad said, aha, we need to get this out in the open where people can see us making jam.
As a kid, Noah Rashid spent a lot of time watching his dad and Larry grow the business from the ground up. Today, he helps run it. From sweet to savory, at American Spoon, they make something for everyone's palate.
In so many ways, we've stayed really close to our roots as a jam maker, but our product range has certainly expanded. We make mustards with Michigan sparkling wine as the acidifier. We make wonderful salsas, barbecue sauces. We're introducing a coffee cake now. We have a partnership on a chocolate bar. So we've really just expanded into our customers' pantry in a lot of ways, and we like to make really elemental, essential products that will stand the test of time and that people can cherish, and have at home and give as gifts.
Despite a limited growing season, Michigan farms grow one of the widest selections of fruits and vegetables in the country. They also grow 3 times more tree fruit than any other state in the region and twice as many berries.
And it was my dad's belief. Among the things that made Michigan so special was West Michigan fruit, and really the unique microclimate we have in West Michigan for fruit culture. So I think that that's the essential piece of our puzzle that we really stay true to, is sourcing really special fruits direct from Michigan farmers and preserving them as simply as possible to celebrate the beautiful fruits we start with.
From early spring strawberries to fall apples, knowing what's in season is critical in production and often leads to the development of new products on store shelves.
Creativity is a weird thing. It's kind of different every time. Seasonal is one of the great touch points. So what's in season, what's cool, what's new, what's coming out of the farms. We have great relationships with a ton of farmers all throughout northern Michigan.
Those relationships that are the foundation of the company, but at the same time all the more precious. There's no more exciting time here than really the late months of summer, when every day foragers are coming in with wild blackberries and blueberries, and farmers are arriving with peaches.
So whether your craft is painting or baking, northern Michigan's lush landscape grows inspiration for makers in a variety of ways.
The critical difference for us really is great Michigan fruit, varieties that we love, that were bred for flavor originally and that we've remained faithful to. And then just our cooking process. Small batches, developing recipes ourselves, specific for fruit, so that the cooking process is really tailored to enhancing the unique characteristics of the fruit we've started with. So whether that's Red Haven peaches or Rubel blueberries or Early Glow strawberries, we're really fine-tuning and tailoring recipes around celebrating those fruits.
We've met makers so far in today's show whose creations are fueled by the natural landscape that surrounds all of us. However, in the case of our final story today, this maker's canvas is the natural landscape. And instead of a paintbrush, their work was created with bulldozers and earth movers to make a true work of art near the northern Michigan town of Roscommon. Courtney Jerome now introduces us to the creator of The Loop at Forest Dunes.
I've actually built 6 of the top 100 golf courses in the world, which is crazy. But
meet renowned golf course architect Tom Doak. He's a Traverse City resident whose work has taken him across the world. From Australia to New Zealand to Tasmania, he's traveled far. But today, we're exploring a project of his that's close to home, The Loop at Forest Dunes Golf Club in Roscommon.
The golf course aficionados have really flocked to the Loop. If you can't afford a trip to Scotland or Ireland, you can come right here to Forest Dunes, and a lot of these golf course aficionados have said that the Loop is the most authentic golf experience that they've had here in the United States.
Why is this course such an experience, you might be wondering? Well, it's the only one in the US that's reversible, as in, yes, you can play it backwards. Tom designed a course that's equally challenging and enjoyable from both directions. It's a concept that's a bit tricky to wrap your head around, and it took the right partner to make it happen. And Tom found that partner, an owner of Forest Dunes, Lou Thompson. Lou is looking for another course to attract people to their destination golf facility.
so I want something that's going to make people want to stay and play the next day, because it'll be a second course to the existing course. And I want something that's going to wow people. And I went home and I started working on a plan to try to build a reversible golf course here, without talking to Lou about that. I sort of put down the plan with the golf course drawn normally. You know, I talked him through all that, and he looked at that, and he said he liked that, and he thought it looked like a good golf course, but it didn't really wow him. And I pulled that plan off, and I had another one under it, and I was like, and this is the next day, you can play it backwards the other way around. And it got really quiet for like a minute or two. And then the first thing he said was, okay, I'm blown away. I never expected that.
The Loop opened in June of 2016. It opened to rave reviews. It was named the best new public course in the country by both Golf Digest and Golf Magazine.
Okay, so let's break it down into how these courses are played.
We alternate directions daily. On even calendar days, we play it as the red routing. On odd calendar days, we play it as the black routing. Basically, you start from the same vicinity each day. The red routing goes in a counterclockwise manner, and you go around the outside first for the front 9, then come back through the inside. The next day, you tee off in a little different area, and you go around the inside of that arch first, and then back around the outside. The tees are just flat areas of fairway, because one day when you're playing it, it's a tee box. The next day, you may be in that same exact spot, and it's just part of the fairway and part of your approach.
In the fairways, most people love it because their ball rolls, you know, they drive it 20 yards farther because it just rolls that much farther off the same drive. But it makes it harder going into the greens because it's harder to control where the ball stops. And that's really what all the old courses in the UK, that's what they're like. And, you know, golf is more about trying to control the ball instead of just hitting it as far as you can. The best feedback I've gotten, and right from day one, is how completely different it is the next day.
A lot of people, when they're playing the course for the first time, spend most of the round turning around and looking back to see, well, how's this going to play tomorrow? What's it going to look like tomorrow? And we try and get them to really focus on, hey, play it today, you'll see it tomorrow, but it's totally different, and it's mesmerizing for people. They might play the whole course and not even realize that it was the same course that they played yesterday, except for if they see a certain landmark like the halfway house or a particular tree.
Tom's drive and passion have certainly paid off.
I've wanted to be a golf course architect since I was like 12 years old. You know, the middle of my freshman year in college, I thought, yeah, I really want to try to pursue this. It's like right after I was in college was the time that Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer and those guys got well known to be golf course designers too. At some point you get to the level where other people are doing all the work. You're just flying around checking on them, and I never really wanted to get there. So I haven't. We're still a pretty small company, but we've gotten to work all around the world and on some pretty spectacular things.
We certainly hope that through our travels today, we may have inspired you at home to pursue your own creative adventures. It is never too early or too late to take all of those ideas bouncing around in your head and make them a reality. No matter the medium, there's a creative space to be had for all in the Great Lakes State. And just like that, this episode of Destination Michigan comes to a close. And from everyone here at the show, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.